Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. My name is Susie and I am an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. Today, I really want to give you some information to reflect upon in respect of, am I operating in alignment to my soul, or am I operating in alignment with my ego? For those of you who haven't come across the Akashic Records before, and this is maybe your first time hearing about the Akashic Records are all about living in alignment to your soul. Now, that sounds like quite a tall order. Lots of people will ask, how do the Akashic Records allow you to live in alignment to your soul? This is because the Akashic Records is all about zooming out and taking a look at your incarnation from the Akashic perspective. The Akashic perspective is much more objective. We get very engrossed in our own incarnation. We get very engrossed in our relationships, in our careers. And by using the Akashic Records, it's really good tool to help you be able to take a step back and look at your life from that more objective soul level perspective. You will hear me say in other episodes, from the Akashic Records perspective, one Earth incarnation, even if it's 100 years, is only a very short amount of time in respect of the soul's journey. The soul is constantly evolving, and working with the Akashic Records is all about understanding that more objective perspective and all about understanding this evolutionary journey that your soul is on so that you can live in alignment to your highest timeline. So, living in alignment to your soul and your soul's purpose. The Akashic Records are not there to tell you what to do. The information will never impede upon your free will, but they are there to guide you and there to help you take a step back and see yourself from this bigger picture perspective. And they will also help to move energetic stagnation through. It's not a magic wand. It isn't, you can have an Akashic Records reading and a clearing, and I can wave a magic Akashic Records wand and your life will be completely in alignment to your highest timeline. That's not how it works. What we need in the spiritual community is to have a little bit of maturity and understand that there is no such thing as a quick fix and there is no such thing as a magic wand in spiritual development. Spiritual development is hard. And those of you who are on your spiritual awakening and development journey know this, because it means taking time to look at things like your mindset, to look at your wounding, to integrate your shadow, to look at your inner child. No matter what anybody promises, you have everything that you need within you. And all of these different modalities are tools to help you evolve and to help you grow, but ultimately the responsibility lies with you. If you're not ready to take radical self responsibility, that's completely fine. But there is no tool, modality, or practice out there that is going to help you to bypass. There is nothing that's going to help you skip steps. Spiritual development and spiritual evolution is hard work, and it requires taking that radical self responsibility to be able to actually develop and evolve. Becoming reflective in your life and really being honest with yourself in respect of, am I operating from my soul or am I operating from my ego for the majority of my day, can be a really helpful way for you to get more into alignment and to see how it feels when you are in alignment and how it feels when you're not in alignment. This is also really important because what we're going to see over the coming years is more and more information coming through to different people sharing different information. And your ability to sit with the question, does this resonate with me, is going to be ever more important with the way that AI is going to change how videos are made and audios and things like that. That ability to have discernment and to be able to sit with the question, does this resonate with me, has always been important, but is going to be even more important going forward. Bearing all of that in mind, let's get into how to know whether you're operating from your soul or your ego. The first point I want to make is your soul enjoys the journey. Life can get really difficult, and human life is very challenging at times. There are lots of ups and downs. You will have heard me say before, Earth School is really hard. Only the bravest souls sign up for Earth School. But the soul actually enjoys the journey. It enjoys the challenge because it understands that with every situation, there is a lesson to be learned and there is the opportunity for evolution. The ego, on the other hand, is always in a hurry. It's always impatient. It wants to know if it's on track. It wants to know what can it do to move forward in the most painless way. If you're feeling impatient about your spiritual development, about your spiritual evolution, this is a really good sign that you are dominated at this point by your ego. The ego is going to want to focus on your flaws, and it's going to really drive you to compare yourself to others because it's wanting to constantly point out that you are not good enough, that you are not worthy. Whereas your soul understands that you are perfectly imperfect as you are. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to like you. But it does mean that you're going to like yourself, that you're going to truly fall in love with yourself. And this self love and self acceptance are very much soul qualities. The ego wants to pull you into, no, you're not good enough because you don't have this, you don't have this. Always wants to focus on lack. The soul, on the other hand, is always going to focus on abundance. It's going to remind you of everything that you do have, and it's going to have gratitude for everything that you do have in this life. If you find yourself focusing on lack, comparing yourself to others all of the time, and focusing on your flaws, that's your ego that's in control. Whereas if you find yourself focusing more on abundance and gratitude and self love and self acceptance, then you're operating from the soul. The ego wants to be accepted. The operating program of the ego is fear and lack. And one of the things that terrifies the ego the most is being judged by others and not being liked. What happens here is you start to live inauthentically. You start to change yourself in respect of whoever it is that you're speaking to, in how you're presenting yourself on social media, for example. If you were operating from a soul level perspective, you would just be focused on living in alignment to your own values and sharing your truth, sharing your perspective. And when people did not understand you, when people didn't receive what you were sharing, you would see it from the perspective of that's okay. I'm not here to be liked by everybody. I'm not here to be fitting in with everybody else. I'm here to live in alignment with myself and to be truly self accepting and self loving. This focus on self love and self acceptance also carries over in personal relationships. Someone who is operating from a soul level perspective is going to focus on their self love, their self acceptance, understanding their truth, their values, living authentically. And then when it comes to romantic partnership, they're going to want to enter into a romantic partnership that is aligned to that. They're not going to abandon themselves or sacrifice parts of themselves to fit into a relationship. On the other hand, if someone is operating from the ego level, they are going to constantly be seeking love outside of themselves, and they are going to change themselves to fit into the relationship. If they find out that their partner doesn't like certain things, they will change themselves accordingly because they are wanting this external love, this idea that someone is there to complete them. So it isn't an equal partnership, it's a sacrifice of parts of oneself to be able to fit into this misaligned connection. Person operating from the egoic side is going to constantly chase relationships and want to be in relationships because they're looking for that external validation. The person operating from the soul perspective is going to allow relationships to develop, and they're going to understand that if there is a soul level connection, an aligned soul level connection that is right for them and that is going to help them evolve and grow even more, that's going to come in. They're not going to go out and chase it. They're going to spend their time when they're not in a relationship focusing on developing and harnessing that self love and self acceptance. The ego is focused on the energy of lust, whereas the soul is very focused on the energy of love, unconditional love. The soul being about complete self love and complete self acceptance also offers that unconditional love and unconditional acceptance of another. In a soul aligned relationship, there isn't this desire to judge the other. It's that complete acceptance of that person for where they're at. And there is unconditional love for them, regardless of where they're at. The ego wants to serve itself. The ego is always looking for things to enhance its sense of self. Whereas somebody who is aligned to their soul is going to want to be of service to others, but on behalf of source consciousness, on behalf of a higher power. The ego is focused on separation and lack. So it wants to get everything for itself because it doesn't believe that there is enough. It wants to hold on to everything. And it doesn't have that understanding that we are all one, this unity consciousness, and that there should be a desire for everybody to have and everybody to live abundantly and everybody to live in alignment. That aspect is more soul led than ego led. The ego is terrified of taking chances and making mistakes. In comparison, the soul will take chances, the soul will make mistakes quite happily because it understands that there is a lesson in every situation, that everything that's presented to them through the beautiful experience that we call life is an opportunity to grow. There's a lesson in everything. So it doesn't have this fear of taking these chances and making these mistakes. The soul is always asking, what's the lesson here? How can I evolve? How can I grow? Whereas the ego asks, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why did this person do this to me? The ego is always chasing the prize. It's always after that end result. It's that when I get there, I will feel complete. Whereas the soul just revels in the journey. The soul just allows it to unfold as it should and then takes aligned actions. The soul is this much more radical self responsibility that I talk about of going, okay, this situation may be difficult, it may be uncomfortable, I may have to process through some emotions that have been triggered, but what is the lesson for me in this situation? The ego is constantly looking forwards and backwards. It's constantly obsessing over the past, revisiting things from the past, or it's constantly projecting into the future and all of the things that could possibly go wrong in the future. On the other hand, the soul is very focused on the present moment. It's the eternal now. As you can probably tell from everything that we've just gone through, the soul's focus is the internal, the ego's focus is the external. So if you find that you spend most of your day focused on the external and not the internal, it's a really good sign that your ego is in control. Please don't get disheartened if you listen to this episode and you realize that actually a lot of your time is spent being ego led. We do not live in a time that is about completely eradicating the ego. We live in a time where we are moving to a place of the spiritualization of the ego being more aligned to the soul. It's that famous saying of we want our ego to be the servant, not the master. Please do not get disheartened if you've reflected on this and you've gone, right, okay, my ego is definitely running the show here, because that taking radical self responsibility, that reflection, enables you to make changes. I want to go into some suggested changes for you to help you get more into alignment with your soul. The first practice I would suggest would be a gratitude practice. Gratitude practices help you to focus on the abundance rather than the lack. So it's very much soul alignment rather than egoic alignment. And it can be really hard to have a gratitude practice when you're going through difficult times, when you have financial difficulties. I completely appreciate that. But there is always something to be grateful for. And I would highly recommend a gratitude practice at least once a day, either when you wake up in the morning or before you go to bed at night time, and just writing down 5 things that you can be grateful for. Even if you have had an awful day, it's been difficult, you can be grateful for having a roof over your head. You can be grateful for having air to breathe, having water running from the tap, having food in your cupboards, whatever it is, just taking some time to reflect on what you can be grateful for. And then, of course, on those days where you have an amazing day and you have lots of amazing experiences, your gratitude list can be a little bit longer, but consciously focusing the energy and attention on aligning to the frequency of abundance rather than the frequency of lack will really help start to get you into a more soul aligned life. The next practice I would suggest is a practice of setting a reminder on your phone in intervals that allow you. So, depending on your working day, you might set it 3 times a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, once at lunchtime. If you have the ability to do this every 2 hours, that would be great. But set a reminder on your phone for presence practice. And presence practice is just sitting for 2 to 3 minutes and just paying attention to the thoughts that are coming in, being observant of them, and trying to reconnect back into the body. Our lives are very busy, our lives are very complicated, and sometimes we can allow the day to run away with us. So, this presence practice is about reconnecting into the body and the present moment, which again is going to help you align better to your soul because it's the ego that wants to mull over the past and chase the future. The last practice that I want to suggest is a reflection practice. And this can be really helpful to have a daily reflection practice. And then perhaps when you have more time, maybe at the weekend, you spend a little bit longer on the reflection practice. But a reflection practice is all about looking at what has gone on through your day and again, becoming more observant of it. So asking, what was the lesson of the day for me? In the interactions I had, how did I behave? Where was I triggered? What emotions have come up today that I have not been able to release? And how can I move through those? This can take a bit of practice getting used to going over the day and reflecting upon different things. But the more that you do this practice, the easier it will become. And the more you take time to, at the weekend, sit and reflect back upon your week, you can start to see that life is presenting you with all the opportunities that your soul desires to evolve and grow. The human experience is amazing from a soul's evolutionary perspective. And again, it just helps you to shift into that perspective of observer rather than getting embroiled in the emotions, in the thoughts, in the chaos of the situations. As always, I really hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I hope that it's given you some things to think about and perhaps some practices to try adding into your current practices. For those of you who are in the membership, I will see you on Sunday where we were going to be doing a deep dive into the sacral chakra and how to know if it's imbalanced, and of course, practices to help you bring it into balance. We're also going to be looking at the energy of desire from a levels of consciousness perspective. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you who are members there on Sunday evening, 6 p.m. If you haven't joined the membership and you would like to, you can do so anytime I will add the link into the show notes for that. For those of you who want to learn how to read and also how to heal and clear in your own Akashic records, I am going to be hosting my next live training in May, and I will also pop the link for that one in the show notes. If you have any questions about the training, please always feel free to drop me an email or send me a message on social media. As always, I wish you a very restful and reflective weekend, and I shall see you all next week for the next episode.